people pray for success, dream of blessings, and long for a better life, but they fail without even realizing why. It's not luck, it's not talent, and it's not God holding back. The harsh truth is this: if you refuse to take responsibility for your life, your future, and your actions, no amount of prayer or effort will ever bring you success. Today, I will reveal the third deadly barrier that silently destroys the destiny of so many and how you can break free before it's too late. The first thing that will never let you succeed is the refusal to accept correction. And I want to begin by telling you something that may shake you to your core. Your future is not being attacked by demons as much as it is being destroyed by your own resistance to correction. People pray for success, cry for breakthrough, beg God for elevation, but the same people run away the moment God sends correction into their lives. And what they do not understand is that every correction is an invitation to the next level. Every correction is a signal that heaven is still interested in shaping them. Every correction is a sign that God still sees potential in them. And yet, the tragedy of our generation is that we want the crown but reject the molding. We want the throne but reject the discipline. We want the blessing but reject the refining. When you refuse correction, you are not fighting a person, you are fighting your own destiny. When you reject the voice that tries to guide you, you are rejecting the future that God designed for you before you were even born. Imagine a seed that refuses to break open. It will never become a tree. It will never grow roots. It will never produce fruit. Its entire destiny will remain locked inside because it refused the painful process of breaking. Correction is that breaking. Correction cracks the shell around your mind, around your habits, around your pride, around the illusions you have built about yourself. And when someone refuses correction, they choose to stay a seed when God designed them to be a tree. Most people are not struggling because life is unfair. They are struggling because they refuse to let anything break them in the right direction. They interpret correction as an insult. They interpret guidance as disrespect. They interpret truth as attack. And as long as your heart is allergic to correction, you will keep repeating the same cycles year after year. It is impossible to live a changed life with an unchanged mind. It is impossible to walk in a new season with old thinking. Correction is the bridge between who you are and who you were meant to become. People shout, "God, open doors for me." But God cannot open doors if your character cannot handle what's behind the door. Correction is God's tool to prepare you for rooms your talent alone cannot sustain. Talent may get you invited, but correction builds the character that keeps you there. Some people had the opportunity of their lifetime, but because they rejected correction, they fell from places they were not prepared to stand on. Opportunities are wasted every day by those who think their emotions are more important than truth. You cannot be great if you are easily offended. You cannot be wise if everything hurts your feelings. You cannot be trusted if correction makes you angry. A corrected person becomes stronger. A rejected correction becomes a future regret. And the saddest part is that some people don't even know they are stuck because they have been avoiding correction for so long that stagnation feels normal. They don't grow. They don't rise. They don't change. Because anything that challenges their comfort is labeled as negativity. They destroy their own destiny and then blame God. The refusal to accept correction usually comes from pride, and pride is one of the most camouflaged killers of destiny. Pride makes you blind to your own weaknesses. Pride convinces you that you know better. Pride makes you defend your mistakes instead of learning from them. Pride whispers, "Who are they to tell you anything?" When wisdom whispers, "Listen before you speak." Pride makes correction feel offensive, and as long as you feel attacked by truth, you will remain protected by lies. Many people are destroyed not because they lack prayers, not because they lack faith, but because they lack humility. Humility is the doorway to transformation. Pride is the wall that blocks every blessing. A humble person grows fast because they listen fast. A proud person grows slowly because they reject the very thing that would have healed them. Correction is not rejection. Many people confuse the two. Correction is not "you are bad." Correction is "you can be better." Correction is not a weapon to hurt you. It is a tool to build you. The only people who hate correction are those who love their weakness. The only people who resist correction are those who want comfort more than growth. You cannot transform what you refuse to confront. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. And you cannot heal from what you pretend is not broken. When correction comes, it doesn't come to shame you, it comes to sharpen you. The people who correct you are not your enemies, they are guardians of your destiny. They are the instruments God uses to polish your rough edges. Everyone sees the diamond, but very few appreciate the chisel. The chisel is painful but necessary. Without it, no diamond will shine. Think about every great person in history. Every one of them had mentors, guides, voices that corrected them. No one rises alone. No one succeeds without being shaped. Even the strongest warrior needs a trainer. Even the most skilled artist needs critique. Even the most gifted leader needs counsel. Your future depends on the voices you allow or reject. If the only voices you accept are the ones that praise you, you will never grow. Growth demands someone who can look you in the eye and say, you can do better, you are wrong here, you need to change this. But today, people delete anyone who corrects them. They block the very voice sent to save them. They label them haters, jealous, negative, not knowing that they are cutting off the branch holding their destiny. Correction is not always gentle. Sometimes correction feels like fire, but even gold needs fire to become valuable. You can pray all you want, but prayer cannot replace correction. Prayer cannot take the place of discipline. Prayer cannot substitute responsibility. God will bless you, but He will also correct you. God will open doors, but He will also demand growth. God will lift you, but He will also prune you. The problem is not that God is silent. The problem is that many people stop listening the moment God speaks in a way they don't want to hear. They want comfort, not correction. They want blessings, not boundaries. They want success, not structure. They want elevation, not evaluation. They want results, not refinement. You cannot rise with that mindset. If you study your own life, you will realize that every time you grew, it was because something corrected you. Pain corrected you. Failure corrected you. Mistakes corrected you. People corrected you. Life corrected you. God corrected you. Growth always follows correction. But many people never grow because they never allow anything to correct them fully. They complain about the same problems decade after decade because they refuse to learn the lesson God is trying to teach them. Life is not repeating. You are repeating. The season is not stuck. You are stuck. And the key that unlocks the cycle is correction. Correction exposes the truth about you, and truth is uncomfortable. But comfort never produces greatness. Comfort never produces discipline. Comfort never produces transformation. When someone tries to correct you, they are not attacking your value, they are attacking the limitations that hold you back. They are confronting the habits that sabotage your future. They are exposing the thinking that keeps you small. They are challenging the behavior that blocks your blessing. Correction is surgery for the soul. You cannot say you want healing and then reject the process that heals you. Some people think correction is humiliation, but the real humiliation is staying the same forever. The real humiliation is missing your destiny. The real humiliation is watching others rise while you remain stuck. The real humiliation is wasting what God gave you because your pride was too big to receive guidance. People say, I don't like being corrected. But what they truly mean is, I don't like facing myself. The mirror makes people uncomfortable, not because the mirror is rude, but because the mirror reveals. Correction is a mirror. It reveals your truth, even when you prefer your excuses. Your success is not determined by how much you know, but by how correctable you are. Correctable people rise quickly. Uncorrectable people stay where they are. Correctable people attract destiny helpers. Uncorrectable people push helpers away. Correctable people change cycles. Uncorrectable people repeat them. Correctable people become leaders. Uncorrectable people become cautionary tales. Every person God uses mightily first had to go through correction. God cannot shape what refuses His hands. God cannot change what resists His voice. God cannot promote what refuses His process. You are praying for elevation, but are you ready for correction? You are asking for success, but can you handle truth? You want God to show you the path, but can he also show you where you are wrong? You want God to speak, but can you listen when his words challenge your behavior? Many want revelation without transformation. They want empowerment without accountability. But God will never elevate someone who cannot be corrected. Correction is not punishment, it is preparation. It prepares you for the next dimension. It prepares you for the responsibility attached to your blessing. It prepares you for the bigger doors you are praying for. If you cannot accept correction at this level, you are not qualified for the next. The mark of maturity is not age, it is teachability. The strongest people in life are not the ones who shout the loudest, but the ones who learn the fastest. Success is not for the perfect, success is for the correctable. God does not use perfect people, he uses people who allow him to shape them. Your flexibility determines your elevation. Your humility determines your destiny. Your willingness to learn determines how far you will go. Correction is the currency of growth. If you cannot pay that price, you cannot buy the future God has for you. The refusal to accept correction will always limit you. It will always shrink your opportunities. It will always block your relationships. It will always hinder your progress. It will always delay your dreams. It will always keep you in the same season. And the worst part is that many people don't realize the damage until it is too late. They realize after losing what they loved. They realize after missing what was meant for them. They realize after life has passed them by. Correction comes before destruction. If you reject the warning, you embrace the consequences. Life is not cruel. Life is consistent. God is not unfair. God is principled. Destiny does not bend to emotions. Destiny responds to discipline. You cannot walk into greatness with a heart that refuses to be corrected. The second thing that will never let you succeed is the refusal to embrace discipline. And I want you to understand from the very first sentence that discipline is not your enemy. It is the guardian of everything God has stored for your future. A person who refuses discipline is like someone holding the key to a palace but choosing to sleep outside in the dirt because they do not want the responsibility of using the key. Discipline is not a punishment, it is a pathway. It is not a restriction, it is a release. It is not a burden, it is a blessing that shapes, molds, protects, and positions you for the very things you pray for. Many people think God is withholding success from them, but the truth is that God never withholds success. He withholds nothing that his principles have already made available. It is the lack of discipline that keeps people from receiving what is already theirs. Discipline is the law of greatness. No one becomes anything without it. Destiny does not respond to desire. It responds to discipline. Dreams do not manifest because you want them. They manifest because you structure your life around the requirements that make them possible. You can desire success, you can desire elevation, you can desire progress, but without discipline, you will sabotage every blessing placed in your hands. The undisciplined person wastes opportunities, relationships, resources, time, and potential. They start strong and finish weak. They get excited but never consistent. They make vows but never keep them. They move with emotion rather than commitment. And the tragedy is that an undisciplined life will always blame external forces for problems that are rooted in internal disorder. Think about people who pray for breakthrough but do not discipline their habits, their thinking, their time, or their choices. They pray for success but cannot discipline their laziness. They pray for relationships but cannot discipline their moods. They pray for favor but cannot discipline their integrity. They pray for opportunities but cannot discipline their preparation. Discipline is the currency you must pay before the blessing can stay. Without discipline, every blessing turns into a burden, every opportunity turns into frustration, and every answered prayer becomes a wasted moment. The refusal to live with discipline destroys more destinies than any enemy ever could, because most of life's battles are not fought against the devil, they are fought against our own lack of consistency. An undisciplined person looks for shortcuts. They want success without sacrifice. They want growth without change. They want progress without process. They want fruit without planting. But this world is built on discipline. Even creation follows discipline. Seasons come in order. The sun rises and sets in order. Oceans stay within their boundaries in order. The body functions through disciplined biological systems. Everything God made operates through discipline. So when a person rejects discipline, they are not just rejecting a habit, they are rejecting the very structure of how God designed life to work. Nothing in creation rewards inconsistency. Discipline is the difference between intention and transformation. Everyone intends to change, but only disciplined people do. Everyone wants to rise, but only disciplined people achieve it. Everyone wants a better life, but only disciplined people build it. Destiny is not for the emotional, it is for the disciplined. Feelings cannot take you where discipline must lead you. Feelings change daily, but discipline anchors you. Discipline gives you the power to do what is necessary even when you don't feel like it. And that is where success is born, not in moments of excitement, but in the consistent choices made when no one is watching, no one is praising, and no one is encouraging you. Discipline is a silent labor that produces loud results. The refusal of discipline shows up in many forms. For some, it is the inability to control their emotions. For others, it is the failure to manage their time. For many, it is the refusal to break toxic habits. And for some, it is the unwillingness to stay committed long enough to see results. A person who lacks discipline will always start something new the moment things get challenging. They run from pressure instead of allowing pressure to refine them. They quit when it gets uncomfortable, forgetting that discomfort is often the doorway to destiny. Discipline requires doing the right thing even when it feels wrong. It demands faithfulness to choices long after the excitement of making them has faded. One of the greatest forms of discipline is self-control. A person who cannot control themselves cannot control their future. If your emotions govern you, your future will escape you. If your anger controls you, your relationships will collapse. If your impulses drive you, your money will vanish. If your desires lead you, your integrity will fall. Self-control is not about being stiff. It is about being stable. Many people fail not because they are weak, but because they allow momentary emotions to destroy permanent opportunities. Discipline saves you from yourself. It protects you when your desires try to betray you. It guards your destiny when your feelings try to sabotage it. Discipline also reveals what you truly value. You cannot say you value success if you do not discipline your time. You cannot say you value health if you do not discipline your habits. You cannot say you value relationships if you do not discipline your behavior. You cannot say you value God's purpose if you do not discipline your actions. Discipline is proof of desire. If you really want something, your life will show it. An undisciplined life exposes shallow commitment. A disciplined life proves deep conviction. One of the most painful truths is that undisciplined people often blame others for consequences they created. They blame the job, blame the family, blame the circumstances, blame the timing, blame the critics, but never blame their own lack of discipline. And as long as they refuse to see the root, the fruit will never change. God can forgive sin, but He will not override principle. He can bless you, but He will not bypass the structure required to sustain that blessing. Many people receive what they pray for, but because they lack discipline, they lose it faster than they gained it. Without discipline, success becomes temporary. Discipline is also the builder of excellence. No one becomes excellent accidentally. Excellence is the result of repeated, disciplined behavior over time. You do not become great overnight. You become great daily. You do not rise by chance, you rise by habit. Excellence requires consistency, and consistency requires discipline. People admire excellence, but resist the disciplines that produce it. They want the spotlight, but not the sacrifice. The applause, but not the training. The result, but not the routine. But destiny belongs to those who choose the routine over the recognition, the grind over the glory, and the process over the platform. Discipline is a form of worship. When you discipline your life, you honor what God gave you. You honor your gift when you discipline it. You honor your time when you manage it. You honor your purpose when you protect it. You honor your mind when you feed it wisdom instead of distraction. You honor your body when you treat it as a vessel of purpose instead of a slave to appetite. Discipline is a declaration that you respect the assignment God placed on your life. Undisciplined living disrespects your potential. Another reason discipline is so important is because success requires sustained focus. You cannot build anything significant while living scattered. You cannot reach destiny while chasing every emotion that passes through your mind. You cannot win a race if you keep running off the track. Discipline keeps you aligned with your purpose. It teaches you how to say no to good things so you can say yes to the right things. Not everything is wrong, but not everything is useful. An undisciplined person does not know the difference. They fill their days with activity instead of productivity. They stay busy but never impactful. They confuse motion with progress. Discipline creates direction. Discipline also demands sacrifice. You cannot hold on to everything and expect to reach something. You cannot keep every habit and still grow. You cannot entertain every distraction and still rise. You cannot cling to comfort and still transform. Discipline requires saying no to yourself more than you say no to others. It requires choosing long-term reward over short-term pleasure. It requires delaying gratification. Undisciplined people want reward first and work later. Disciplined people work first and enjoy the reward that lasts. A major area where discipline is required is in relationships. Undisciplined people destroy relationships because they cannot discipline their tongue, their temper, or their pride. They speak without thinking, react without understanding, and respond without wisdom. They want loyalty, but cannot discipline themselves to give it. They want respect, but cannot discipline themselves to act in a respectful way. They want love, but cannot discipline themselves to be patient, consistent, or responsible. Relationships thrive when discipline is present and collapse when discipline is absent. Discipline is also necessary in managing finances. An undisciplined person can receive millions and still end up with nothing. Money does not change financial behavior. Discipline does. Without discipline, people overspend, misuse, mismanage, and waste what they receive. They pray for God to increase their finances but refuse to discipline their spending, their savings, or their priorities. If you cannot manage a small blessing with discipline, you will mishandle a large blessing with disaster. Time is another area where discipline determines destiny. Time is one of the most valuable resources God gives, yet most people waste it without thought. Every wasted hour is a piece of destiny thrown away. Every wasted day is a future opportunity lost. Undisciplined people spend time as if it is unlimited. Disciplined people invest time as if every moment matters. The difference between a wasted life and a purposeful life is often measured in how discipline governs time. Discipline also shapes character. True character is not built in crowds. It is formed in private moments when no one is watching. Discipline shapes integrity, responsibility, and strength. It teaches you how to do the right thing even when no one expects it. It teaches you how to be faithful even when no one applauds it. It teaches you how to push forward even when no one notices it. Character is what sustains destiny, and discipline is what builds character. You lose what God prepared when you refuse discipline, because destiny requires structure, and structure requires discipline. It is not enough to pray and believe. You must also build and behave. Prayer opens the door, and discipline keeps it open. Faith attracts the blessing, but discipline maintains it. God can prepare a place for you, but can you discipline yourself to stay in that place? God can give you opportunity, but can you discipline yourself to handle it? God can give you influence, but can you discipline your heart, your ego, your decisions, and your actions enough to keep it? Many people ask God for a future they are not disciplined enough to carry. They want a level of success their habits cannot support. They want a destiny their lifestyle cannot sustain. They want blessings their character cannot protect. This is why discipline is not optional, it is essential. Without it, you will always fall short of the very things God designed for you. Discipline is a gift. Discipline is a shield. Discipline is a weapon. Discipline is a foundation. Discipline is a declaration that you refuse to let your flesh ruin what your spirit was created to achieve. If you run from discipline, you run from destiny. If you reject discipline, you reject elevation. If you despise discipline, you despise greatness. And if you avoid discipline, you avoid the future that was meant to be yours. The third thing that will never let you succeed is the refusal to take responsibility. And I want you to understand from the very beginning that responsibility is not a burden placed on you by life. It is the bridge that carries you into the future you are praying for. People cry for success. People beg for increase. People shout for breakthrough. But they run from the very thing that produces those blessings. And that thing is responsibility. When a person refuses responsibility, they destroy their own success long before failure ever touches them. Success is not lost in a single moment. It is lost slowly, quietly, through constant avoidance of responsibility. Responsibility is God's way of trusting you with more. Responsibility is heaven's test to measure your capacity. Responsibility is the evidence that you are ready for elevation. But when someone refuses responsibility, they announce to God, to life, and to their own destiny that they are not prepared to handle anything greater than what they already have. Responsibility is the foundation of maturity. A person may grow in age, but without responsibility, they remain a child in their decisions, their reactions, and their understanding. A child wants freedom without consequence, pleasure without accountability, results without effort. And this same mindset destroys adults when they refuse responsibility. They want the reward, but not the requirement. They want the blessing, but not the burden. They want the title, but not the task. They want the spotlight, but not the sacrifice. Life does not work that way. Destiny does not work that way. Greatness does not work that way. Responsibility is the price you must pay for every level you desire to enter. If you cannot handle responsibility at the level you are in now, you cannot manage the weight of the level you are praying to reach. A person who refuses responsibility becomes a victim of their own excuses. They blame others for problems they created. They blame people for consequences they invited. They blame circumstances for patterns they repeated. They blame the world for outcomes shaped by their choices. And the most dangerous thing about refusing responsibility is that it blinds you to your own power to change. The moment you say, "It's not my fault," you also say, "I cannot fix it." When you give away responsibility, you give away control. When you refuse ownership, you refuse transformation. Responsibility gives you authority over your own life, your future, your habits, your growth, your destiny. Responsibility says, "I am willing to change. I am willing to adjust. I am willing to grow." Without that willingness, success has no place to rest and no soil to grow in. People destroy their own success because they expect others to carry what only they were meant to bear. They expect others to fix what they refuse to face. They expect others to sacrifice while they avoid effort. They want others to understand them, support them, and rescue them, while they refuse to understand themselves, discipline themselves, and rescue themselves. No one can carry your calling for you. No one can fulfill your purpose for you. No one can take responsibility for your attitude, your decisions, your habits, your faith, your discipline, your actions. When you delegate responsibility to others, you surrender your destiny into their hands. Greatness requires you to stand up and say, "I am responsible. I will take ownership. I will not run away." Responsibility is not glamorous. It does not come with applause. It does not receive instant recognition. It is often quiet, heavy, unseen, uncelebrated. But responsibility builds you, strengthens you, develops you, matures you, stabilizes you, protects you, and prepares you for every blessing that will come later. Many people pray for elevation while avoiding the work that elevation demands. God will never give you a blessing that your character cannot carry. He will never trust you with a future you refuse to take responsibility for. Some people blame God for closed doors, not realizing that responsibility is the key that unlocks them. God wants to take you higher, but you cannot climb with hands filled with excuses. The refusal of responsibility shows up in many areas. Some people refuse responsibility for their emotions. They let anger, insecurity, jealousy, fear, and bitterness control them. They say, "This is just who I am," instead of saying, "This is an area I must take responsibility for and change." Some refuse responsibility for their time, wasting hours, days, months, and years while expecting miracles to fall into their lap. Some refuse responsibility for their mistakes, repeating the same patterns because they never admit they were wrong in the first place. Some refuse responsibility for their growth, wanting wisdom without study, maturity without reflection, progress without effort. Refusing responsibility is refusing growth. Responsibility teaches you accountability. It teaches you to look in the mirror instead of pointing fingers. It teaches you to examine your decisions instead of blaming the outcomes. It teaches you to pause and ask hard questions. What did I do wrong? What can I improve? What is God trying to teach me? What strategy must I change? Where do I need help? Where must I discipline myself? Responsibility forces you to confront the part of yourself that you would rather avoid, and the part you avoid is usually the part that limits you the most. The part you refuse to face becomes the part that eventually destroys you. A responsible person learns from everything: their failures, their disappointments, their obstacles, their betrayals, their struggles, their pain. An irresponsible person repeats everything. Life keeps teaching them the same lesson because they keep refusing the responsibility to learn it. If you do not take responsibility for your patterns, you will repeat them. If you do not take responsibility for your decisions, you will suffer from them. If you do not take responsibility for your growth, you will stay stuck at a level far below the one God designed for you. Success always comes with responsibility. You cannot separate the two. The higher you rise, the greater the responsibility. The more influence you have, the more responsibility you carry. The more opportunity you receive, the more responsibility is required to sustain it. Greatness comes with weight, and responsibility strengthens you so you can carry that weight. Without responsibility, success becomes a burden that crushes instead of a destiny that elevates. You must grow strong enough to carry what you are praying for. Responsibility requires honesty. You must be honest with yourself about your weaknesses, your strengths, your habits, your patterns, your excuses, your desires, your intentions, your flaws. Dishonesty is the enemy of responsibility. You cannot change what you lie about. You cannot heal what you hide. You cannot fix what you refuse to face. A responsible person looks at their life and says, if it is to be, it starts with me. Not because they are prideful, but because they are aware that God gave them the ability, authority, and accountability to shape their own choices. Irresponsibility is dangerous because it spreads. If you are irresponsible in one area, it will infect other areas. A person irresponsible with their words becomes irresponsible with relationships. A person irresponsible with time becomes irresponsible with opportunities. A person irresponsible with finances becomes irresponsible with responsibilities at home. A person irresponsible emotionally becomes unstable spiritually. Irresponsibility breeds chaos. Discipline breeds order. Responsibility brings clarity and structure to your life, and clarity is essential for success. A confused mind cannot build anything. A cluttered life cannot grow correctly. Responsibility clears the noise and gives direction. Some people destroy their success because they take responsibility only when convenient. Responsibility is not seasonal. Responsibility is not selective. You cannot choose when to be responsible and when to be careless. Consistency is what produces results. Responsibility is not a moment, it is a lifestyle. You cannot choose responsibility only when it benefits you, only when people are watching, only when you feel inspired. True responsibility shows up when it is hard, when it is tiring, when it is inconvenient, when no one is affirming you, when no one is praising you, when no one sees your effort. That level of commitment creates unstoppable momentum in your life. Responsibility also shapes your reputation. People trust responsible individuals. People follow responsible individuals. People invest in responsible individuals. People partner with responsible individuals. Responsibility opens doors because it proves you are reliable. It shows you can be trusted with tasks, with opportunities, with relationships, with leadership, with influence. An irresponsible person closes doors with their own behavior. Responsibility attracts favor. Irresponsibility repels it. One of the hardest but most powerful forms of responsibility is taking ownership of your healing. Many people wait for someone to fix what they refuse to confront. They blame others for wounds they never address. Healing begins the moment you say, "This pain is affecting my life, and I take responsibility to deal with it, face it, grow from it." Your past is not your responsibility, but your healing is. What happened to you may not be your fault, but your growth is your responsibility. Refusing responsibility for healing is refusing freedom. Responsibility also influences how you handle conflict. Irresponsible people react emotionally and blame others. Responsible people reflect, respond with wisdom, and seek solutions. Responsibility helps you grow beyond impulsiveness and teaches you the skill of managing pressure. Successful people are not people without problems. They are people who take responsibility for how they manage those problems. Many opportunities are lost not because someone lacked talent, but because they lack the responsibility to handle conflict with maturity. A life without responsibility becomes a life without direction. You drift. You wander. You survive but never build. You hope but never plan. You dream but never act. Responsibility gives structure to vision. It turns ideas into action. It turns excitement into execution. It turns potential into progress. Without responsibility, potential remains trapped inside you, never activated, never realized, never multiplied. You must understand that responsibility is not a punishment. It is a privilege. It means God trusts you enough to place destiny in your hands. It means you have power over your choices, your path, your growth, your transformation. Freedom without responsibility becomes destruction. But freedom with responsibility becomes destiny. You cannot rise without it. And now, as we reach the end of this message, I want to leave you with something that shakes your spirit awake. Your future is not waiting for a miracle, it is waiting for responsibility. Your breakthrough is not waiting for a prophecy, it is waiting for responsibility. Your greatness is not waiting for approval, it is waiting for responsibility. Heaven is ready. The blessing is ready. The opportunity is ready. The only question is, are you ready to take responsibility for the future you want to live, the person you want to become, and the destiny you were created to fulfill? Because the moment you choose responsibility, everything in your life starts to rise, doors begin to open, strength begins to grow, and success begins to follow you, not because you wished for it, but because you finally became the kind of person who can carry it.